Hello, welcome to my Garbaugust vlog. If you're confused and have no idea what I'm talking about, Garbaugust is probably my favorite booktube event, and no matter how busy I am, I always try to participate, and this year is no different. It was created by Ollie from the channel Criminally, and honestly, in the last 3 years, it's blown up. There are tons of creators involved. I'll link all of them below, and it's really fun because it's about celebrating trashy literature. And you might be thinking, wait, that's kind of mean and offensive, but we mean it in the most loving way possible. We are celebrating books that are just meant to be entertaining, and maybe they don't have an incredible literary value, but they could have cultural value, or as I said, entertainment value. Another great thing about this event is it's so varied because it can encompass all kinds of genres. So I'll be doing mostly horror, but a few other things as well. And that's also why it's so cool to have so many creators involved, because they all have a different take on it. It's hard to explain, but the more videos you watch, the more it makes sense. There is kind of like a weekly schedule and a bingo board and all of those things for people that are more organized than me. But I honestly just wing it. I have in my mind what I want to read, but it's not structured in any way. And actually, this week I've already started Summer of Monsters by David Sodergren. And to be completely honest, I would actually classify this as top tier trash because, at least in my opinion, it is good horror. I think David really nails each horror subgenre that he tackles because he's just so knowledgeable about horror and it really shows through. But the reason it can be classified as trash is because his books tend to be like super gory, schlocky, goopy, all of those things that we love. It's Sunday today, so basically the end of week 1, and I really want to get this finished by the end of the week. I don't have that much to go, so I'm gonna try to finish that tonight. Also, I really wanted to get these read within the summer because it happens in the summertime. So yeah, I really need to hurry up with this. This is my 4th Sodergren book, and this is actually quite different from the ones I've read before. Summer of Monsters, I would say, is on the milder side, maybe even creeping into YA territory. It is about a teenage girl. She's the protagonist, Lucy, and she's, I think, 15. Lucy and her widowed dad, they move to a house in rural Scotland. In this small town, there is a legend about monsters that inhabit the forest, and every so often they come out of the forest and kill people. And actually, there's rumors that that's how the family that used to live in her house, the rumor is that that's how they died. So obviously, once Lucy moves into this house, she starts exploring the woods and starts to unravel the secrets about the creatures that lurk in the woods. As per usual, this book is very, very entertaining. I would say so far it's my least favorite of his books, but that's not to say it's bad. It's just maybe a bit slower than his previous ones. But this author has surprised me before with his endings, so I still have very high hopes for these. And I'll just come back and give you my final review when I finish. Exactly as I had predicted, has hit the fan. This is so horrible. Honestly, David Sodergren never fails to surprise me. This is so horrible. Definitely not YA. So devastating. It's a bit late, but I did manage to finish Summer of Monsters. As I said, it started a bit slow, but I knew that something was gonna happen that would shake things up and accelerate everything. I just didn't expect it to be so heart-wrenching, and this author just always pulls these on me. This one definitely was not as violent as any of the other books I've read from him, but we have a really cute father-daughter relationship. It was kind of cheesy, but I think it fit the style of the book. This is set in the 90s, and actually I realized that it reads a lot like a 90s film. So it was at moments a bit silly, goofy, the way these two characters were interacting between each other, and also the girl with some of her friends, classmates, etc. As I kind of hinted before, it's also a creature feature. I did wish we got a bit more of a description of what the creatures look like. I think at times it was a bit vague, but they were cool creatures. It's also a coming of age story, which I usually don't like, and that was my least favorite aspect of these. But because I really liked the main character, I was able to look past that. At times, I also was very close to being disappointed by it, but the author made some choices that like raised the stakes and made things more dramatic and like actually like horrible. Some really horrible stuff happens, so that kind of like cut through the lightheartedness of the rest of the book. So while not my favorite Sodergren book, I still insist that I will read anything and everything he puts out because it's just such a good time. I'd say a perfect way to start Garbaugust, and also a perfect summer read. So that's that. I still want to read a bit more tonight, but I think I'm gonna switch to something other than Garbaugust. I want to start My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante. This is for my book club, so I won't include it in this vlog because I want this to be just Garbaugust. And I think tomorrow I'm gonna show you my other picks. I already made myself a little stack, but I'll just show you tomorrow so I can talk through it. Well, good night, and I'll see you later for Garbaugust week 2. As promised, I'm here to show you some of the other books that I will be reading for Garbaugust. First of all, I have the official anthology of the event, which is Trash Tales. This has been edited by Alex from the channel Alex on a Bridge. I'll put it somewhere here. And it's a collection of trashy short stories contributed by people in the booktube community, so that's extra awesome. And there's a variety of genres and topics here. We have stories about werewolves, sex bots, creepy puppets, large hadron collider related erotica, bloody revenge, a cozy mystery, and a cosmic horror story about things that I can't say out loud. Anyways, I'm sure this will be super fun, and because they're short stories, I can just like dip in and out. And actually, we also have the equivalent for last year, which I didn't really get to, so I'm hoping I can read some more of these this year as well. Then I have something that I ordered from World of Books. And I'm actually really excited about it because I used Garbaugust as an excuse to order this, but I wanted it for a while, so it's a pretty big bag as well. Okay, I'm actually really disappointed because they sent me the wrong thing, so unfortunately I'm gonna have to send this back. I ordered the full collection of the Horrorland Goosebumps spin-off, and they just sent me like a collection of regular Goosebumps books, and I already have most of these, so that's a shame. I really wanted the Horrorlands because I never got to read those as a kid. I feel like I was a bit too old by the time they came out, and I think they're especially trashy because they kind of like capitalize on the success of One Dead Horrorland, and it's just like a spin-off that nobody asked for, and it's probably not very good. But yeah, unfortunately I'm gonna have to sort that out. I don't know if I'm gonna get them in time, so we'll have to wait and see. Other than that, I also have a pretty short book that I want to read, and it's also a throwback, but not from my childhood. This is a throwback to my teenage years, and it is Gossip Girl by Cecily von Ziegesar. I actually owned these and read them when I was about 14, even before the TV show came out, and I was obsessed. And I remember that some of the content here was a bit age inappropriate maybe for the age I was, and I felt so naughty reading them. So I'm sure these will be fun to revisit. And finally, I have a larger horror book. This is The Loch by Steve Alten, and actually this was a gift from Alex, the same Alex I mentioned before, and I'm convinced that trash is more fun when it's a gift. Last year I read Vampire Lover, which was a gift from Roy from this channel, and I enjoyed that very much. And Alex sent me these because he knows I'm a huge fan of Steve Alten's Meg, and I read Meg, I think 2 Garbaughusts ago. So he kindly offered to send me this, and I'm really excited to read it because, of course, it takes place in Scotland. And it also has one of my favorite tropes or things in a book, which is when we have like a scientist that's the main character. It says, marine biologist Zachary Wallace once suffered a near-drowning experience in legendary Loch Ness, and now long-forgotten memories of that experience have begun haunting him. The truth surrounding these memories lies with Zachary's estranged father, Angus Wallace, a wily Highlander on trial for murder. Together, the two plunge into a world where the legend of Loch Ness shows its true face. So it seems like there's a lot going on, but I don't know, I feel like it looks super fun. I don't think I will read this whole thing this month, but the goal is to start it. So I think I'm gonna get started with Gossip Girl, even though I wanted to do the Goosebumps books, but yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen. So I think I'll start with this one because it's short, and then move on to this, and then see how much I can get through. I feel like even if I don't finish it this month, I will just keep on reading because I want to read it anyways. So yeah, I guess less talking and more reading, and let's get trashy. Of course, Garbaugust can never be complete without watching a trashy movie. So that's what I'm doing tonight. I'm gonna be watching the Chernobyl Diaries, which is famous for being bad. I don't know why it is bad though, so I'm very curious to watch it. Also, this one's famously mistaken for being found footage. It's not found footage, it's about people who are filming there, but the format is not found footage. I'm just curious, it's something I've always wanted to watch. So let's do that and we'll catch up later. Alright, so Chernobyl Diaries. It was not as bad as I thought it was going to be, although maybe that's because my expectations were extremely low. So it was bad, but just as bad as I expected. This is about a group of friends that are doing a Euro trip. Actually, 3 of them are visiting one friend who lives in Russia. Anyways, the point is that they end up hiring this sketchy guy who's gonna take them on a tour of Chernobyl. But when they get there, they realize that it's not as abandoned as they thought it was. So first of all, I guess I should say that I think the fact that this movie exists is just in bad taste. Like, Chernobyl was a really horrible tragedy, which doesn't mean it has to be off limits. But I think if they had reinterpreted the event to come up with some kind of original horror, that would have been cool. But the whole concept of the movie is exactly the first thing that would come to mind when you think Chernobyl horror. They picked the lowest hanging fruit. So in that sense, I do think it's a bit insensitive overall. That being said, even though the movie relies mostly on jump scares, I think the jump scares were relatively well executed. So I did jump a couple times here and there. Other than that, conceptually, the horror is just not there. The other thing that really annoyed me, and circling back to the confusion there is on whether it is found footage or not, it is not found footage. And also, it's not what I thought before, that it depicted a character carrying around a camera. No one's carrying around a camera. The only reason people confuse it for being found footage is that it is shot in that shaky camera way that found footage films do. But there is no character that's actually supposed to be carrying a camera, so it just comes across as like lazy filmmaking. I don't really have much else to say about this. Do I recommend it? Absolutely not. Not even to found footage fans, because this is just not it. I really don't think of anyone that I think could enjoy this film, which I guess it's a bit harsh. I would recommend it to horror completionists that just want to watch all horror movies. That's pretty much it. Yeah. Trash was consumed for sure. Let's do a Garbaugust update. I haven't made that much progress because I've been focusing on a book club book that was due today, which is very much not in the spirit of Garbaugust. I've been reading a prize-winning New York Times Best Books of the Century, Elena Ferrante's My Brilliant Friend, so basically anti-trash, but it's all about balance, so it's been good. I will probably talk about the book in another video. I have managed a few short stories from the Garbaugust anthologies. I read 2 from last year's Garbology. I read Will You by Rod Gilly. This is about a call girl, but she's not your typical call girl. She deals with clients that are on the supernatural side. That one was really fun. Then I read Here She Comes by L.T. Clybourne. This one was also really fun. It's about a guy that picks up a girl at a bar, and she's like his dream girl. And obviously things don't go as planned. And then from Trash Tales, I read 3 stories. I read Mama's Good Silver by Philip Mitchell. This was really fun. It was kinda The Walking Dead or 28 Years Later, but think werewolves. Then I read You Always Drive Too Fast by S.J. Townend. This was hilarious. It's about a guy that falls in love with a traffic light. Oh, and actually that's it. So I've just read 2 of each. And then I actually did manage to get the Goosebumps Horrorland series. So I started the first one, which is Revenge of the Living Dummy. This is as trash as can be, because this puts together Slappy, the famous cursed dummy from Goosebumps, and Horrorland together. So it's basically a mashup of 2 of the most popular Goosebumps books. So it's giving Alien versus Predator, Jason versus Freddy, The Grudge versus The Ring kind of thing, and I love it. It's so silly. I'm about halfway through, and so far it's just like a totally standard Goosebumps books. Especially I think all the Slappy ones, really the plot is the same over and over again. Kid finds Dummy, Dummy is alive, Kid tells parents, parents don't believe Kid, and that's how it goes. Nothing new, but you know, it's just easy. Good, easy children's trash. Okay, quick update before I leave for Chapel Roan concert. I finished Revenge of the Living Dummy, the first one in the Goosebumps Horrorland series, spin-off, whatever. This was not great. I mean, it was good in that it was very, very R.L. Stine. Or maybe for someone who hasn't read all the Goosebumps books several times before, these could actually be fun. But if you're familiar with Slappy and you're familiar with Horrorland and you want to see them both together, you probably will have read a lot of Goosebumps. So what I'm trying to get at is that literally R.L. Stine used the exact same like plot points and conflicts and in general things that happen multiple times in all his other books. The structure is so similar, so it felt to me a little bit tired. Did I still have fun? Yeah. I mean, I do love Slappy and I do love Horrorland, so what can I say? I do prefer the old Slappy. I don't like this makeover that they've given him. I liked the old Dummy better. But anyways, it seems that this series is a bit different because I think all the books will just like follow the same story, whereas in regular Goosebumps books, each book is like its own contained story. This seems like a true series. So it ends kind of like in the middle, like a cliffhanger kind of way, which is okay. I will continue reading the series, although I'm not sure when. I've also started reading my next book, which is the original Gossip Girl series by Cecily von Ziegesar. As I mentioned before, I read this during my early teen years and I was completely obsessed, and I mean, I've literally just started, but reading it is so nostalgic. So I can help but enjoy it very much. Contents wise, this is highly questionable, especially when you consider that the author is writing about 16, 17-year-old children doing things that are not great for children. I mean, I know that teenagers drink alcohol and consume drugs and have sex. I'm not saying that we shouldn't talk about those things in literature, but this definitely glamorizes very unhealthy behaviors. So, I guess from an adult perspective, I can't in good conscience recommend this to a young reader, but I personally am having a lot of fun revisiting these old favorites. It's time for a Garbaugust update / wrap up. Let's start with the reading I've done. I finished Gossip Girl. Do not judge me, but I love this so much. I had so much fun reading these. It was so nostalgic, but like actually good. Disclaimer, I think this works best for an adult audience. I don't think young teens should be reading this. Maybe I'm a prude. I just don't think it's very age appropriate. Sorry. As an adult, I had a blast. Is it weird that we're reading racy drama about 16 and 17-year-olds? Yes. But honestly, for a fun time, it works. I actually think this is written well. I like the author's sense of humor. And I think part of the reason having such young characters work is because sometimes we zoom in into one of the characters' inner world, their very deep personal thoughts, and only 17-year-olds could think these things. They're often really, really silly and really, really funny. They all have main character syndrome and they think the whole world revolves around them. If you're unfamiliar with the books and the series, Gossip Girl is an anonymous blogger. So I'm assuming she, but they run a blog style website where they just basically post gossip about these very rich families in New York, and especially their high school aged children. So you have these kind of website entries, but the parts that are not the website, the narrator themselves is also implied to be Gossip Girl, which is kind of weird because they know what every character is thinking. So it's a bit of like a strange narrative device, to be honest, but it was good in my opinion. And it's also told in a conversational way with the reader. So definitely at points it seems like the narrator or Gossip Girl is talking directly to the reader. So it's kind of like a private gossipy conversation. I'm not sure exactly what was it about the writing style that I enjoyed so much, because I'm not convinced that it fully makes sense, but somehow it really works. I'm sorry, it's just very juicy, and as I mentioned, it really seems like a good gossipy session. Objectively, this is really not great. Subjectively, I love it. I also read one more story from last year's Garbology, which was, and I think I'm gonna pronounce the author's name really badly, Free Spirits by David Hobson Kitchener. This one was really enjoyable. It's a period piece. It's not explicit what time period is it, but think horse-drawn carriages, big dresses, and women having to be perfect, respectable ladies. And our protagonist is all of that from the outside, but really she's not a respectable lady at all. She really loves indulging in the carnal pleasures, and her father is tired of it, so he's sending her to a nunnery, I think. But when they're on their way, their carriage breaks down and they have to ask for assistance in a manor. And in this manor, our protagonist finds an opportunity to be a little bit naughty. So this was already really fun. And then there's a supernatural twist, which I adore. So that was great. I just realized I forgot to say I didn't have time to read the log, so it's gonna have to wait. I do want to read it, so I don't think I'll wait till next year. But if you're wondering, why I never mentioned it again. That's why. And finally, I decided to close Garbaugust by watching another movie. And I wanted to choose something really close to my heart. So I went for the Exorcist prequel. I think it's Exorcist The Beginning or Origin or something like that. I was expecting this to be complete and utter garbage. And it was actually kind of good, maybe. This follows Father Merrin after he loses his faith because he experiences really awful things happening during World War II. And we come to find out how he first met Pazuzu. And this happened in an archaeological site in Kenya where they discovered an old church that's been buried. Trying to be objective, I don't think this movie was very good at its goal as a prequel because it didn't really explain much about the relationship between Pazuzu and the priest. I feel like in The Exorcist, they seem to have this super intimate relationship. Like whatever went down between the two of them was like this huge thing. And I feel like what happens, I mean, it's interesting and obviously kind of intense because it's like possession and exorcism, etc. But I just didn't see that connection between the demon and the priest that was so hyped up during the original film. What I did like is that it was just really, really entertaining. It was more like a supernatural thriller than a horror movie. It's very action-packed, very dramatic. It kind of reminded me of the Da Vinci Code in style, but with like a real supernatural component. And in my opinion, it was kind of scary, but I do find possession particularly scary. So I don't think it was awful. Also, the backstory of this movie is kind of wild because apparently they made this movie and it was wildly unsuccessful. Like everyone hated it. So then I think the same screenwriters and the production team kind of rewrote the script and cast different actors and then remade the whole thing with some slight changes, and these apparently worked better for people. So I would be curious to watch this other prequel. I think it's called Dominion, and from what I started reading in Wikipedia, the plot seems very, very similar. So I'm super confused about what the difference is supposed to be and why is it supposed to be better. I have no idea. I couldn't find it anywhere on streaming. So if any one of you know what's up with that, let me know if it's worth looking for. Regardless of anything, I have a weak spot for The Exorcist. So for me, it was the perfect way to end Garbaugust, and I just had loads of fun this month. If you participated in this event, let me know what was your favorite trash that you read or watched, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!